You're listening to The White Rock Reporter, brought to you by Oli's Restaurant, White Rock Wellness Center, and DiscoverySeaTours.ca. And now, The White Rock Reporter, Johan Sandstrom.
Well, I'm the White Rock Reporter. We are right on the stage here in the White Rock Community Center, and I have the pleasure to introduce to you Stephanie Smith, a driving force in something I'm going to tell you later, and of course the very gentleman, Mr. Scott Kristjanson. That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah. Good morning, Johan.
That's Irish.
Icelandic. Get this right.
I'm so glad that I can start this way. It's a great morning. It's a little overcast here in White Rock, British Columbia, and we want to see where we can take for you lovely people. I say welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
It's great. And what I like to emphasize is please speak up really loud and clear, because we are in a public environment, and it's great to be here at the White Rock Community Center by Russell and the Miramar Plaza. We are going to talk about, and I know you would like to know, no thermal coal in the peninsula, on the peninsula. We are going to talk about coal, dust, government, and just to give you a little beginning here, if you don't mind, let me start with something that is the mayor, Wayne Baldwin, that wrote a thing that has been called a resolution regarding the Fraser-Surrey Docks direct transfer coal facility. And it reads like this: whereas Port Metro Vancouver is planning to ship volatile thermal coal from the United States through Fraser-Surrey Docks, abbreviated FSD in case you come across it, and whereas the federal government has yielded its jurisdiction on this matter to Port Metro Vancouver, and whereas there has been no meaningful consultation process before the approvals are given for the FSD proposal between the City of White Rock and the FSD Port Metro Vancouver, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, and Transport Canada, and whereas full and complete written assurances from Environment Canada and Health Canada have not been given that there are no adverse effects on White Rock residents from the dust from coal trains passing through White Rock, and whereas the implementation of a system of air quality monitoring stations along the route of the coal trains through any residential areas has not been initiated, and whereas there has been no limit placed on the amount of rail traffic through the City of White Rock by Transport Canada. Therefore, be it resolved that, based on the wide-ranging impacts, in parentheses, I read business, social, environmental, the City of White Rock is opposed to the proposed FSD Surrey, Fraser-Surrey Docks, direct transfer coal facility, and request that Port Metro Vancouver cease its consideration of the FSD's application. This was written, and is pretty much am I correct in saying that this is what Mayor Baldwin wrote? And provided.
It's a resolution that was written on behalf of Coal-Free White Rock, but Mayor Baldwin it wrote a letter to Port Metro Vancouver and TransCanada and et cetera, and this resolution was taken from his letter.
Before we go on here, I'd like for you, since you are the driving force, I said in the beginning here, Stephanie, please tell a little about your background. Was it you that convinced Mr. Scott here to do that beautiful website that he put together? What's the name of the website?
It's www.coalfreewhiterock.ca.
Wonderful, thank you. Mm-hmm. And Stephanie, please tell us a little about how did you get into this tumultuous, I can just say. You are a creative writer, I understand, and it's great to know you. I have never met with you before, but I certainly like to listen to what you have to say. Just briefly, what is your ambition? You do this because of certain reasons, of course.
I suppose just got very passionate about it when I started thinking about the whole picture this would involve, changing the face of White Rock and affecting business owners on the waterfront and property values and then also environmental impacts. I was concerned at the time with Blackie Spit Park area.
The Blackie Spit.
Yeah, because the train goes right through there and very sensitive. Estuary there. And then I was also thinking of Burns Bog, and and then I was thinking about the health.
So you have spoken to Eliza also?
Oh, yes.
I met with her way back.
She's great.
When I did radio. Yeah, she is a fabulous person.
She's wonderful.
And she has a Swedish name too, I think.
I know. It's a great name.
I love that.
Yeah.
We have a very Scandinavian
So I guess
here.
I guess it just brought me back to thinking, this isn't just going to affect one certain thing. It's going to affect many, many things, and there are no borders when it comes to this coal. And then I decided to research about places that are huge coal exporters, because that's where we were starting to go into, right, if this coal continues. And I researched Australia, and what I found out was alarming. And when I saw how far they're into it and how they're fighting the coal industry, I realized that we need to have awareness and information about this.
Yeah, you say fighting because in some areas there is a fight already on the go. And what I feel is fighting is obviously exciting for the people involved, and if they can be successful in their attempts. But it seems to me that this, right now, we are in a diplomatic phase where you have initiated a lot of writing. You are researching, and you seem to be a heck of a person doing that, because I get emails from you telling about this. And when you take the time to read the whole conceptual thing of coal and air pollution and the environment that is affected by the trains going by, you must, even if you're a little seaside resort like White Rock, you must react. I mean, the train is going basically 100 yards from your living, from your abode, where you live, right? And it's going to be many trains. And so I can see why you would be motivated, but you have taken such a distinct role and leadership in this together. And let's speak about Paula Williams.
Oh, Paula Williams.
Crescent Beach. So they have another, what is the address to those lovely people? Is that
Communities in Coal?
Community
That's www.communitiescoal.com.
Yeah. And
Paula's done an outstanding job too, so I want to give kudos to both Stephanie and Paula. Fantastic job. For myself, I got involved. I remember when Stephanie and Mayor Baldwin first started getting on the tracks, and these people were on the tracks blocking the trains. And to be honest, I was just finishing up with the casino thing, and I had done my bit for White Rock, and I saw these people do this, and I thought, why are you doing that? I can't believe it. What's wrong with coal? I didn't really believe it, to tell you the truth. And then I'm on Dave Chesney's feed, so I started reading some of the data on this, and I was shocked by how much is really going on here, right? People will say it's only a little bit of coal dust, and the Port Authority will say that they mitigate it, and you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. But then, Dr. James showed up and talked about that.
Frank James.
Dr. Frank James, right?
Is he out of Bellingham?
Yes.
He is.
He's from Bellingham. Yeah, that's great.
And so him and 200 doctors researched a bunch of academic papers and did proper research, which is what our government should be doing. And in fact, Fraser Health asked them to do that. They basically said, before you do this, check the health about this. And I think that's nice, but I think we already know what the health impacts of this are, right? So this
before we get into the details of that, let's take a break here. We'll be right back.
More from the White Rock Reporter coming up after we hear from our sponsors.
Enjoy adventures where eagles soar, whales play, and around the next corner is a soft pebble beach. Discovery Sea Tours, specializing in private charters and group tours. Visit discoveryseatours.ca for details.
Time now to hear some more from the White Rock Reporter. Here's Johan Sandstrom.
Okay, I was speaking here to Stephanie Smith and Scott Kristjanson, and we are talking about no thermal coal on the peninsula. That is the aim of this campaign.
No U.S. thermal coal.
No U.S. thermal coal. No thermal U.S. coal. Yeah. That's what you call it. And I'm so glad that you can come in here and assist me, because I'm trying to be unbiased. It's difficult when you, but also personally I'm involved. You can't help, because I live here in White Rock. This is local. We are community focused. This is what radio is all about. We talk about radio. Radio is the new medium. It sounds crazy, but we have a number of, just to tell the audience, they are actually bouncing big balls here in the next conference room. And these are seniors. I should be one too and have a ball and go over. This is wonderful. So, anyway, let's continue with this now and tell the rest of the story, Scott, please.
I got involved after, basically being a skeptic, and I started doing the research and checking out all the stuff that Stephanie and others had put out on the web. And I was actually shocked by what I found. So I wanted to point out that, Dr. James pointed out that, some of the health effects of this that are known. We don't need a health impact study. We already know all this stuff. It'd be great to have the health impact study, but it'll just tell us how many people are going to die and how many people are going to get sick. But we already know that coal dust and diesel particulate matter, they cause asthma, they exacerbate asthma, they can stunt lung development in children, it'll cause lung cancer. It's not a question of if, it's how many. And infant mortality, brain impairments. The coal dust itself contains mercury, uranium, cadmium, and lead. I don't know if you're familiar with all those, but mercury.
Cadmium is my friend. Part of my painting. No,
yeah.
Kidding aside.
That's true.
We're talking about toxicity.
These are all very toxic.
The toxicity here is grave. Mm-hmm. Mercury, you name it. Mercury never, once in the body, will never disappear.
But I want to talk about how much dust, because all it takes is somebody with a calculator to actually work this out. I don't know why people haven't worked this out, but it's actually, I bet you.
Tell us.
Yeah. So they say 85% of the dust is suppressed with all this glue they put on there.
Right.
And we shouldn't worry. Well, that's really cool. I'm really glad they're not worried. And Hebert asked Transport Canada, and they're not worried. I'm really happy about that. But what's that other 15% mean? Well, this glue breaks down as it travels along the tracks, right? And we've posted many websites where you can see the coal dust flying from these trains.
I like to correct a little thing here because I'm very much in terminology is important to me, maybe because English is my third language. What I like to say is that glue would be not necessarily the correct term. I would say it's a binder.
Yeah, of course.
It's a chemical. It's a chemical binder. Yeah. What do we know about the binder?
Well, I'm not worried about the binder because I can tell you already the coal enough. It scares the heck out of me. So 15% of the dust. The numbers are, and BNSF actually says this, 500 pounds gets lost from Wyoming to here.
Per car.
And the binder wears down over time. They have to reapply it. Well, guess what?
Am I correct? Let me ask you a question. Am I correct? It is an absolute constant compression of the goods. You load it here, and it sinks down.
Well, it's not the shaking; it's the shaking.
That's what I mean. It rattles, just like regular. Yeah. During the war, we had wooden coal, right? When they measured, they had a big thing. Yeah. Then they started measuring what did we actually get.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then they paid. Yeah. So they charged for what they had when they loaded up.
So let me do the math for you, Johan. I really want to get this.
I'm glad that Stephanie got that from me.
Yeah. So what does it mean? So this binder breaks down over time, and just before it gets to the dock, which is just a few miles down the road, that's when it's going to be broken down the most, and that's when the most coal dust is going to come off. So let's be conservative and take an average, which is what I did on the website, right? So 500 pounds per car gets lost over 1,100 miles. That's only half a pound per car per mile. No problem. That sounds easy, right? So what does that actually work out to be when you do the math, right? Well, if you have 125 cars and you have 10 trains a day, that actually works out to 550 pounds of dust per mile that gets deposited on tracks. We have about 4 miles of tracks here. That's 2,200 pounds of coal dust loaded with mercury, uranium, cadmium, and lead that is polluting our our beachside. So, and just in case you didn't know what that actually adds up to a year, that's 400 tons of coal dust in our peninsula every year. And wait a minute, how much does one car carry? I'm glad you asked that, Johan. 125 tons. So the equivalent of 3.5 coal cars is dumped into our peninsula in the air every year. No one is talking about these numbers. They talk about a derailment and, oh my God, that's terrible. This is going into our lungs and into our fisheries and killing our fish, and it's killing our kids, and it's killing our elders. Who's the most vulnerable? Seniors and children and women over 50. Dr. James said that, right? So this is all known stuff.
It's Dr. Frank James. There are more than one and we're going to take a break right here, and we'll be right back.
More from the White Rock Reporter coming up after we hear from our sponsors.
Enjoy adventures where eagles soar, whales play, and around the next corner is a soft pebble beach. Discovery Sea Tours, specializing in private charters and group tours. Visit discoveryseatours.ca for details.
Time now to hear some more from the White Rock Reporter. Here's Johan Sandstrom.
All right, you are listening to the White Rock Reporter. We are right back here, and continue. You spoke about weight and dust on railroad cars. Now, maybe you can conclude that research that you have done, or mathematical formula that you have expressed, right?
Okay, so thanks, Johan. So what I've already mentioned is that even though people, the coal people, want us to think there's not much dust there, when you actually do the math, it's the equivalent of 3.5 cars full of dust every year gets deposited in the White Rock Peninsula, right on our beaches and in our homes. That's 400 tons per year. Okay, 2,200 pounds of coal dust per day. That's not chunks of coal. That's stuff floating up in the air. And there's different sizes of that particle, the coal dust. The big stuff lands pretty right away, and it's landing on our beaches, on our businesses in the waterfront, and more importantly in the eelgrass, killing the spawning fish there.
Now you really got something I understand, because I remember the campaign. Remember the eelgrass. And I'm a little sarcastic.
Right, yeah.
It's easy to become sarcastic when you talk and have an opinion about something you don't really know about. You know what I'm saying?
I know. A lot of people don't know a lot of things and they talk. And
but
I hope I'm not one of them.
The funny part is that eelgrass, according to the science, is simply something that regenerates itself. You just can't stop it. It's just on the beach, in the seaweeds, it has a tremendous regeneration power of its own.
It does, unless it doesn't get sunlight, which is the problem. So the big particles of coal dust deposit on top of the eelgrass, and it's as if the sun has been blocked out forever. And
that is so with any dust, in particular
coal. No, coal dust, because it sticks and it's black. It's opaque, right? So it can't get through there. But that's not the worst thing. So we lose a bunch of eelgrass and all of our salmon stock. That's just peanuts.
Herring.
The little pieces of dust that don't float onto our beaches, they fly up into the peninsula. And Dr. James actually quoted the amount of travel. So, I live 1 kilometer from the beach, and I used to think when I first heard about this, well, I sure feel sorry for the people who live on the tracks, because they're the most vulnerable. The coal dust, let me finish. Yeah. The coal dust travels 5 kilometers. Do you know how far it is from the beach to the bus depot way over on the other side of Surrey? That's 5.2 kilometers. And the train circles the entire peninsula. So it doesn't matter which way the wind blows, you're either getting it when it's from the south of us or the north of us. It's covering the entire peninsula. And the dust that actually travels the furthest is the most deadly.
You can't see it.
You can't see it, you can't feel it. It goes into your lungs, goes right to the alveoli in the center of your lungs where the oxygen exchange happens, and it stays there. Your lungs cannot get rid of it, and it accumulates. And you slowly will find yourself getting worse and worse asthma.
I just have to say, it works like asbestos.
No. Asbestos causes cancer. What this does is probably worse. It actually stops you from being able to clean your own lungs. Your lungs lose the ability permanently, not temporarily, permanently. You can no longer clean your lungs, and your lungs get worse and worse and worse. And you'll see more and more people with puffers. I have one myself, an asthma puffer. And that's not a coincidence. There's a lot of pollution here that we don't see. And that's why we've got to stop this thing.
Also the diesel particulate matter from the
Because
engines, too.
Well, I'm glad you corrected me. Thank you. But still, people relate quite a bit to asbestos, right? It's been a big deal for years. But what you're saying here now, the respiratory organs obviously are affected negative, and in this case permanently, depending on where you are being contaminated, on distance and so on.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the evidence base,
This is all evidence-based. This is real. This is 200 doctors in the States already did the research, looking at thousands of papers over several years, and this is real data. This isn't website data. This is peer-reviewed journal data.
It doesn't worry me, but what puzzles me a little, that we seem to want to invent the wheel in North America, and you know my background. So let me tell you this. Wales,
Yeah, I've heard of them.
United Kingdom, totally.
Yeah.
Coal is not, holy smoke. I even remember how you picked up coal and so on. You needed that for your stove, for your heat.
Yeah,
I've
I've lived in England. I remember all the smokestacks full of coal dust coming out, for sure. So there's different grades of coal.
The same thing.
But there's different grades of coal, and some of them have different pollutants.
And it was very important that when you bought coal, that you made sure it was anthracite. Anthracite is the coal is the type of coal that is most burns best, and all that stuff. So we are talking about coal in general. I don't know what they are getting from the basin here and from Montana,
from Wyoming, the Powder River
on.
Basin. Yeah. So it's the dirtiest, disgustingest, most polluted, lowest grade coal there is.
I was just, because I have read up probably one of your campaigns, probably, and you read this and you believe it, because and the same thing. The more you hear it, the more you become, maybe there's something behind here. And the campaign message is so important, I think, that this consistency and persistence in reaching out. If we quit discussing just details, we know pretty much what we are talking about now. Just tell me, how is it progressing? What are the goals? And aren't we going very close to... I'm looking to Stephanie here. Her big eyes are looking scary at me. But, you're laughing. So please tell me. Are we, what would you like to communicate? Because you are so involved in this. You write and you are following up on what goes on globally with the coal, and it takes time. And it takes devotion, and that's where you are right now.
You're right. For me, the most important thing is to get this information out to as many people as possible, because nobody's going to care about this unless they know the information and the impacts this will cause on them health-wise, environmentally, and so on. They have to be aware. The awareness is key. And the right information, factual information, getting the people speaking that have done the research and are like Dr. James or Frank James, from all those medical journals that they went through. I think it was about 250 doctors, all from different backgrounds: Republicans, Democrats, progressives, whatever. None of them have come to a disagreement with any of the research or papers that they've come up with and finding out the information and what they want to convey. All of them are on the same page.
But should we just take this? Is this greed, or what is driving these economical, financial forces?
Well,
let's take one thing. Warren Buffett buys a railroad.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. Don't tell me he did that just because he likes railroads. No, he bought it most likely with a real thought.
Yeah, well, they make about $4 billion a year shipping this coal. $4 billion. So I think there's a reason there.
It's a business.
Is that a good business then?
That's a very good business. I want to say, I don't blame Warren Buffett. I think he's actually a very cool guy. I like him.
He is cool. That's what I'm saying. And I'd like to bring him into the discussion because he could. He won't. The problem is when you own a huge corporation that owns huge corporations, you can't have. You don't have. He's a great guy. He doesn't have the brain the size of a planet. No.
So he probably doesn't even know that this coal is doing anything. I've worked in the corporate environment. I guarantee you that by the time 18 managers have reported up the chain to him, they're saying, you know what, this coal is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a bunch of hooey, and we're making $4 billion a year, buddy. Give me a bonus. That's how it works, right? And we want to blame.
So you're saying the right figure, that $4 billion?
It is. That's what I've heard. $4 billion is what he makes a year on shipping coal.
On coal.
On coal. It's a good business. I wouldn't mind it.
I met with a woman from Alberta, and she said, "Money talks," and Johan, that's about it.
Yeah.
And BS, you know what? Yeah. Now the point is, this is where we are right now. How do you look at the future? Let's speak a little about the future. What's cooking? What's going to happen? You talked about the thing going on at Taxida Island, and maybe you can say something there.
Oh, right. Right. I just organized in connection with communities in coal. They had me work on a meeting in Texada Island where Dr. Frank James will do a presentation in Powell River, actually. Right. The locals there are helping him put this on, which is very important and vital. And I hope it gets a lot of word out there because this was pretty short notice for us to do this, but it's coming through and we're going to have it filmed there as well. Owen Moriarty will be filming it. So this is exciting. It's basically saying, it's not just happening in our peninsula. We're helping all communities because we're all affected by this. And their proposal, that's the coal port proposal up there, the expansion, is going to affect people up there. And so people need to be more aware and informed. And that's where it comes. That's where it comes through. You have to be aware and informed before you can make a proper decision. Before you know both sides of the story.
Right.
And so But I think what it's going to come to in the future is where we have to be effective federally, reforming things.
Do you think, Stephanie Smith, do you think that this could be an issue for the provincial, even the federal?
Oh, of course, it has to. It has to go that far. There needs to be changes in order to protect the people
Have you spoken to any, to make it simple for myself, have you reached into the cabinet of Harper Sharper? I used to call him. Well,
it's like there's steps you have to take.
Yeah.
Right now it's.
So you are on one of those steps.
Yes. Right now, the public need to be aware.
I obviously understand that. Yes. Yeah. And you have not. Have you reached yet into the local provincial government of British Columbia?
Well, Gordon Holloway has been a great supporter of this.
He's very dynamic.
He's a wonderful guy. I have no issue with him at all. I think he's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure how the other part of the leadership in BC in the government is. I
like to ask you and interrupt you by saying, "Hey, where's Mr. Russ Hebert, MP?"
Well, Russ Hebert's an interesting guy. I won't. I talked about.
We don't judge here in this panel.
but I want to talk about Russ, right?
What we do here, because you need to conclude this beautiful conversation.
So Russ Hebert has said he's talked to Transport Canada, and that Transport Canada believes there's no health issue, and so. They've also said there was no coal dust issue, and then recently they reported that, there's 700 tons of coal dust going over Delta every year.
This is bad because I happen to read a newspaper of other caliber than the Peace Arch News. Mm-hmm. I read Globe and Mail. Mm-hmm. I profess and say that's a pretty good national paper.
It's not bad.
That's my way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm just me. I'm a little guy.
Oh, you're Johan.
But, the nicest part is that I like to conclude by saying, first, I like you guys to say, Stephanie Smith, again, let's round this off by saying something conclusive, that number one, can bring us together and do an update on where we are from this point. This will be recorded, and in a month's time, or whenever you feel it's a good time, to get together again, both of you, if we could do that. So please.
Okay, where we're at now is leaders from different communities around the Lower Mainland have agreed to fall under the umbrella of Communities in Coal, to brand Communities in Coal. Right now, if you were like to maybe say, look like in an aerial view of the Lower Mainland, you see little fires spread out where people have concerns about these coal issues. What we want to do is start to unite our voices, become a bigger fire, so to speak, and unite and be able to organize. And basically, Communities in Coal is their goal is to empower communities and create tools and help for them to start to organize their own grassroots.
CommunityEndCoal.com is quite a good name for what you're trying to do, and you always see the signs of viral impact on the substance of your conversation, right?
Right.
Am I correct? I talk about. I used viral.
Yeah, viral. I've heard of that word. Yeah, being a techie, I've heard of it a few times. So they've gotten 7,600 petition signers already, which is fantastic.
How much?
7,600.
7,600.
To put that in perspective, when we did the casino, we got 5,000. So they already blowing us away.
To the listener, I said, these are professional people. They have been very much involved in the casino discussion, which involved the city of Surrey and many other people. But so that's that. In case you get this is solely about the ambitions regarding coal. And we don't want it on our shores, and we need to tell the world about this because that's where it's going.
And just one thing I wanted to emphasize, the Texada Island get-together that's happening soon, organized by Stephanie, is super important because Texada Island is where they want to put this coal as a temporary measure so they can ship it to China. And they have some say in whether this actually goes there or not. So if we can get people to go to Texada Island and help support them, we can block this thing just right then and there, because if they don't have any place to put this coal, it's not shipping through and poisoning our communities. Thank you.
My friends, both of you, any contact information, this is the moment where you say, I email or website, and I like to have it repeated. What is are you prepared to do your email where you can take response?
We have a contact through our website.
How does it work?
You can contact us through our website. So our website is www.coalfreewhiterock.ca.
Coalfreewhiterock.ca.
Yep, Google is your friend. Give it a shot. It'll find it if you just say Coal Free White Rock.
Yeah.
And also on Facebook, if you're a Facebooker, it's Coal Free White Rock Surrey will get you there. But the links are all available on our website. So go there, and there's tons of information. And if you have any questions, we'll answer them.
This is moving fast like a train, I almost said, but I didn't want to be facetious here. The point is, thank you very much, both of you, for taking your time here.
Thank you.
I say to the listeners, take this to heart, tell your friends, and be a little less complacent. This is important for the community, for our children, for generations to come, because it is a major, major operation of surgery, which I call it in my little way of the world. Things are happening around us, and we need to react, I understand. And I'm just reiterating what has been said by many people in the community. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to White Rock Reporter, brought to you by Ole's Restaurant, White Rock Wellness Center, and DiscoverySeatours.ca. To learn more about the White Rock Reporter and to get access to more great episodes, visit whiterockreporter.com. That's www.whiterockreporter.com.